there recently was a Harvard study in regards to if older generations of people, whether age could affect, learning ability. So they had a bunch of young people and old people go to this study to retrain for their degree. And what it resulted in is they found out that the older people had trouble accepting new information that was conflicting with the information that they already knew, which kind of confirmed the idea that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Now, how many of you are really surprised about this? No, you're probably thinking like that. Oh, that kind of makes sense. Of course, it's almost kind of like obvious. But then the University of Arizona presented a study, presented similar studies, and their findings show that the older people's years of experience and basically virtual library in their brain allowed them to finish their degree way faster than an 18-year-old could, which proved the notion that you're never too old to learn new things. Now wait a minute, that sounds like it could make sense too, like it could be true. So which one is it? You can't teach an old dog new tricks, or you're never too old to learn. Well, the truth is neither of them are true because I made both of those up. What I want you to do here is I want you to realize that you have fallen victim to what's known as the hindsight bias, which basically is a little bug in your brain that when you take in new information, it basically your brain says, "Oh, I knew that all along," to make it seem like you're always right. So your brain doesn't acknowledge that it's wrong. And why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because in today's current political and journalistic climate, we're faced with this concept of fake news. And the more and more that I realize and have conversations with people, including my friends and family, more than I'm realizing that a lot of people are just making things out of assumptions, like they feel like something is true, but it really is not. Like even right now, I'm actually not reading off anything. This page is blank. so I mean, like, we can all be fooled with these kind of things. And what's causing this? Well, it could be one of many things. I mean, we have the issue of like, not many people are more stupid because they're not reading as many books. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, that could be a big contributing factor. I mean, who relates with this idea that no one reads books anymore? I mean, it's crazy. Like, why do you think that there's not as much book reading?
Because I don't see anybody carrying books around or even reading. Anywhere, you see people reading. The other day I saw somebody reading a book and I was shocked. A real book.
And then we have an issue with like my generation, me being a millennial. I'm much younger than both of you, but the idea that we're lazy and entitled. In addition to not reading more. Like who in here understands where I'm coming from about the lazy.
That you're lazy and entitled.
No, not lazy. Millennials are lazy.
Well, you're lazy.
Yeah, no, not lazy and entitled.
Right.
Mark? Why do you think millennials are not as hardworking or have this notion of entitlement?
I don't know why. I kind of see it, but I kind of think they're hard workers too. So I'm not really sure. I'm not sure I know.
Tim,
I would just go a little more specific and say that the millennials walking around in the safe spaces and protesting on campuses and spending their whole day getting money for getting a credit for going out to protest things for sociological studies, history studies, and even some science courses too they get credit for, are not learning much and just wasting a lot of time. There may be other ones that are doing perfectly wonderful things. I don't know what those particular ones I think are wasting time.
And then there another proposition is this is the idea where there's a lot of hysteria of the rising crime rate. Why the world is a very, very different place. It's a much more scary and violent place. Like, I mean, it feels like you can get murdered at any moment right now. Like, why, Kenji? Why do you think the world is a lot more dangerous now?
Why?
Yeah.
Oh, good question. Maybe from
on that?
The internet?
Or YouTube or a show?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Denise,
Because my dad used to say there's a lot more crooked heads out there.
there's a lot more crooked heads out there. It feels like the world is a very, very dangerous kind of place, right? That,
Depends
Yeah.
where.
I mean, just in general.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what we see. It depends on you are on the east side of Earth or west side of Earth.
Do you think do you have any solutions on how we can fix this, or do you have?
No, America.
Not really? Okay. Well, I hate to break it to you, but none of us know what the hell we're talking about. Because because my papers, I wanna just debunk some. A lot of these things that I've said are things that just feel right, like the idea that millennials are lazy feels like that's a very makes sense. You know, we can look back into our experience, but I hate to say it, Harvard Business Review statistics show that we're actually the hardest working generation, and we make less money than even Denise's generation when she was my age. Ken, we actually read more in the United States than ever before in history. Millennials are the ones that read the most. And this idea that apparently suicide from the World Health Organization shows that suicide exceeds war and murder combined. So we're living in the most peaceful time in human history. Now, the thing is, like, this is obviously not a feature. This is more or less a bug. That our default mind mode of not knowing things seems to be arrogance, and it really stems. And this idea of like fake news and not knowing what is true really stems down to the lack of trust and expertise, and just also this arrogance and narcissism that all opinions should count. I think there is I would say that there's a lack of what's known as epistemic responsibility, or the idea that we have a ethical and social responsibility to each other to withhold belief until proved otherwise. Now, Mark, you said something that was very, very, very honest and true. I don't know. The magical words of I don't know. Have you noticed that everyone has an opinion on everything nowadays, right? They have their opinion on North Korea. They have their opinion on climate change. They have their opinion on X, Y, and Z. But when you ask these people who have an opinion on North Korea, you start asking them, like, have you read anything on North Korea? No. Have you? Do you know what the Korean War was about? No. Have you taken any classes or had any formal work in international relations? No. Do you have any intelligence assets to inform your decision of why you did? No. So this is a situation that we're commonly seeing now, and it's one of the reasons why we have a president that was elected on the concept of things feel like they're just not in order. Our feelings tend to guide rather than information guiding. And before we, attack and make fun of these conspiracy theorists and the people that that Trump, whatever supporter that you may not agree with, it's important to understand that we're all victims of this. Like, we're all susceptible. In the right circumstances, we could all fall into this too. So what do we do about it? Well, first thing to do about it is recognize that we have pitfalls in our brain. Recognize that there's things like the confirmation bias, the Dunning-Kruger effect, and hindsight bias. I mean, if you've ever gone to a karaoke night and you had a friend who goes on stage and just like bombs Take on Me, and everyone's staring at him awkwardly as he walks off the stage, and he just goes, nailed it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. This guy is clearly not aware of his folly. So we have to recognize that that we have biases, and we need to inform each other, and we need to have empathy for each other and inform them, and really change our approach rather than ridiculing or just smashing them with facts. Because as I laid down those papers, it wasn't probably the best feeling to feel that you're being told wrong. So we all can come up with better ways to talk to each other and overcome this scourge of fake news. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And my thought